your usual suspect. It's a pleasure to be back again with you guys. Sorry, we had the false start, so we had to, cancel out that, earlier broadcast and restart it again because for some reason I'd forgotten to turn on my microphones, and it was after I went out to test audios that I realized we didn't have audio. So, anyways, allow me to test the audios once again and make sure we are on the right track for this particular broadcast. But it's a pleasure to be back. I hope every single one of you had a great day or a wonderful day. It's been a bit of a long day, sporting wise. A lot of things did happen during the course of the day. Some news did happen. We tried to come on here and do something, but you guys were absent, so I've had to actually delete that earlier broadcast, the late evening broadcast. I think I only had Patrice Ali. But anyways, all that notwithstanding, it's a pleasure to be back with you guys today to speak the latest from the world of sport, from the world of football. Yeah, and I hope it will be a good one for all of us. I hope it will be a good one for all of us. Yes. Allow me to say thank you to Fatrus Ali and all our usual suspects, our new subscribers. Welcome to the community. It's a pleasure having you around. Thank you so much. We do appreciate you a great deal for everything you do to support this channel by watching our content, by supporting what we do, and yeah. So tonight, we are back once again to speak the latest from the world of football. Plenty of things have happened during the course of today that are worth talking about, that are worth, giving a mention or a highlight. I did miss the games from the African Nations Championships because for some reason, my plug for these games decided to put the games behind the paywall, and I wasn't inclined to go down that rabbit hole. So I ended up missing that game between Burkina Faso and Central African Republic, which Burkina Faso, by the way, won by 4 goals to 2, while Tanzania, the co-host of the tournament, did win the other game by a goal to 0. They did beat up against Mauritania there to win their game. Shomari Kampombe there, the goal scorer in the 89th minute to ensure victory. The Monkido, am I reading your name rightly? Yes, the Monkido and Exeni Penny Show. Hi, how are you? Good to have you on the broadcast. For those of you that are just joining us, kindly like the broadcast, but also consider subscribing to the channel and help me at 2,000 subscribers. Do let me know where you're joining us from, and welcome to the Football Tribe UG channel. Robert Kesakos is my name, and I'm coming to you live from Kampala, Uganda, and we are here to discuss the latest from the world of sport, from the world of football. Particularly, we'll be looking at Arsenal's Shambolic loss against Villarreal because they were beaten in that game. We'll talk about Manchester United's pursuit of Carlos Baleba from Brighton and Hove Albion. We will talk about Darwin Nunez's pending move to Al-Hilal and much more in tonight's broadcast. Says, how are you doing? The monkey do. I'm doing well. I hope you're doing well as well. Do let me know where you're joining us from this late evening or / night, depending on what your time zone could be. So, what do we, like I said, we had started off, we had kicked things off with the African Nations Championships, in which Tanzania did beat up against Mauritania by a goal to 0. You say you're good. Okay, that's awesome. Awesome to know. Let us know where you're joining us from. Like I said, Shomari Kampombe did score the only goal that won the game for the co-hosts of this tournament, and that means it's 2 victories for Tanzania. Possibly they need just 1 victory more to secure their place at the knockout stages of the 27-team competition. They are in Group B with the likes of Burkina Faso, Madagascar, Mauritania, as well as Central African Republic. and they did beat up against Burkina Faso by 2 goals to 0 in their opening fixture. And now they did beat up against Mauritania by 1-0. So far, 3 goals are scored and none conceded there for the Taifa Stars of Tanzania. So very, very impressive stuff. Very, very impressive stuff from our co-hosts, while Uganda were beaten the other day on the opening day by 3 goals to 0 against Algeria. Kenya did win their game by 1-0. So that's the look of things in as far as the hosts are concerned, or the host nations. Kenya were beating up against the Democratic Republic of Congo. So, anyways, quickly, let's leave that and take the quick flight to the transfer world, because it looks like Darwin Nunez to Al-Hilal is a here we go. The player has formally allowed or accepted to join Al-Hilal on a 3-year contract that will run until June 2028. That news has been broken by none other than Fabrizio Romano, who seems to have been all day ahead of this deal more than most. He did say Darwin Nunez to Al-Hilal is here we go. Verbal agreement has been completed between all parties. 53 million euros plus add-ons to Liverpool as revealed today. 3-year deal for Nunez. Nunez said yes, and Inzaghi only wanted him. Medical next, exclusive story confirmed. So there we do have it. I'm going to go to a different stream. Have a good day. Thank you so much, the Monkey Do and XNE Penny Show. But I hope you've done us the absolute favor and subscribe to the channel. Pedro says, ha ha ha, you lost. UNC, is that, I don't know, is that a short form for Anchor or for something else? But yeah, indeed we lost, but we'll get to speak about that game in just a bit. I wanted us to start off with transfers because there is officially a significant movement from Liverpool, another outgoing worth 53 million euros for Darwin Nunez. I already said this, that I did not feel that Darwin Nunez was worth 50 million pounds for suitors that did want to sign him from Liverpool. And if these negotiations between Al-Hilal, they've been quite very, very swift. Short for Anchor means old person. Thank you. The negotiations between Al-Hilal and Liverpool have been quite strict. Same happens for the negotiations between Al-Hilal and the player side, and an agreement was reached. Finally, Darwin Nunez very open to joining the Saudi Pro League, and looks like that's where he is destined for the next 3 years if he does find life very, very accommodating in the Saudi Pro League. It's a deal that we did speak about in the morning when Pedro did put a question to me about what the transfer fee would be. And reports had suggested that the valuation was around 70 to 75 million euros. Maybe that valuation was perhaps for European teams, or because teams tend to create different price tags for different categories of teams. For example, the way you have, for example, Atlanta sticking it out to Inter to say we want our valuation of 50 million euros met for Ademola Lookman if he's to join Inter Milan. But I believe that if it were to be a foreign team that were coming in for Ademola Lookman for that total fee of about 45 million euros, as was Inter Milan's last bid, which was worth 42 million euros guaranteed fees plus 3 million euros in expected add-ons, then they could have already given their green light to such a proposal. But anyways, he gets to move on from Liverpool after 3 years, where he did blow hot and cold, depending on how you did envision Darwin Nunez. But we can only wish him the very best for the rest of his career. He's capable of scoring the goals. It just did not happen for him at Liverpool. But as he moves away, he did score already 5 goals in pre-season, including a hat-trick against Stoke City in that behind closed-door game at the Liverpool training facility. Anyways, quickly let's move away to that and then move on to Manchester United, because Manchester United are not relaxing, they are not resting, because they have approached Carlos Baleba's camp this week to be informed on the player situation. Brighton plan to keep Baleba at the club as price tag would be very high, seen as a difficult deal. That's according to Malpop sources. But Manchester United plan to try a new midfielder after Sesko deal this summer. Remember, Manchester United have already agreed a deal in principle on personal terms with Benjamin Sesko. He did decline a move to Newcastle to join the Red Devils. Something that is, apologies on that internet glitch, and looks like we are bound to have a couple of those. I do not know, for some reason these days my internet has those habits of acting up, but if it does happen, please bear with me and kindly be a bit patient. As you know, we restore it to the best of its abilities. Anyways, like I said, Manchester United are closing in already on a deal to sign Benjamin Sesko from RB Leipzig. RB Leipzig had accepted Newcastle's proposal, which is €5 million shy of what had earlier on been reported, according to latest reports. Reports do suggest that RB Leipzig accepted an €82.5 million as guaranteed fees, plus a €2.5 million in expected add-ons from Newcastle United, but the 22-year-old striker prefers a move to Manchester United. No club-to-club agreement on that's between Manchester United and RB Leipzig yet, but talks are advancing towards a conclusion for that deal. So, in as far as Manchester United, in as far as the deal for Benjamin Sesko is concerned to Manchester United, it's just a matter of when, not if, because we know that very soon what practically RB Leipzig are looking for, because Manchester United's bid was worth €75 million plus €10 million in expected add-ons. What basically, and remember this was Manchester United's first bid, what basically RB Leipzig are looking out for is for Newcastle, is for Manchester United to match those exact terms in terms of guaranteed fees and expected add-ons that Newcastle were possibly offering in terms for them to agree to a deal. So Sesko to Manchester United, we are almost getting there to a here we go very soon or later. Testers of Life says, how is it, man? It's all good. Besides the disappointing bit that Arsenal did lose, which we will get to discuss on in just a bit. But yeah, that's the situation regarding to, Benjamin Sesko. But Man United are exploring a deal to sign Carlos Baleba. What an exciting signing that would be. And I think for majority of us, and by that I mean people who do objectively assess things when it comes to football, I think it would change our stance quite significantly if Manchester United were able to add not just Benjamin Sesko, but as well as Carlos Baleba to their ranks in this transfer window. Because what a transfer window it would have been, adding Benjamin Sesko, Matas Cunha, Brandon Mbumo, Carlos Baleba, Diego Leon. I mean, wouldn't that be very, very exciting? It would definitely put Manchester United back in contention for the topmost positions, not for the Premier League title, but at least for the topmost positions in as far as the Premier League table is concerned. So, but let's wait and see if they will be able to get a deal for Carlos Baleba. But I do not think, and I've said this before, I do not think that Brighton and Hove Albion will be letting Carlos Baleba leave for anything less than £80 million. If anything, Moises Caicedo's move previously from Brighton to Chelsea worth £115 million will only stand to be a benchmark for what Brighton could stand to ask for Carlos Baleba. Left-footed central midfielder, very press resistant, carries the ball forward, quite energetic, very athletic, very industrious, box-to-box kind of player, really. You do just love to watch him. Arsenal played well, just they failed to capitalize on the chances they had. At least Nogard scored. Yes, that's true. Nogard did score, which was quite impressive on the day. So I think we've discussed Darwin Nunez, we've discussed Carlos Baleba, we've discussed Benjamin Sesko. Then Alexander Isak has been told he will be training alone by himself and won't be joining the rest of the Newcastle squad. And this we spoke about, I think, the other day or so when we were reviewing those comments from Ed Howe. Mr. Leo, good to have you back on the podcast. Always a pleasure to see you around. Thank you so much for the love and support that you carry with you whenever you join our podcasts. You're much appreciated, sir. So when we did talk about, Ed Howe's comments regarding, Alexander Isak, without mentioning his name. A high five to you, sir. So he mentioned something like, you do not expect to behave poorly and then get to train with us. You must earn that right. Something like that. Those were not the exact words. I'm trying to paraphrase, but that's what he did say once he was out there. So, and I mean, it's very understandable. Every club ought to have standards. There must be disciplinary measures for when you think players have stepped out of line. I had zero qualms whatsoever for a player like Alexander Isak wanting to explore his options in this transfer window. But when it came down to start to, requesting to be left out of a traveling squad, a match day squad, and things like that, then that is pushing your luck just a little bit. Because let's not forget, I do not know. Allow me to reference a movie here, or a series. Uh, I don't know if you guys have watched Suits, but there's a time I do not. I'm trying to remember the exact incident. I think Harvey and Mike Voss were trying to have. I think we're in an argument, or they had a split of opinion, and he was telling him there's one thing that rich people want more than money, and that's getting back at people or getting one over somebody. And just imagine, Newcastle, although it wouldn't be the most of ideal situation with their rich Saudis, they could say freeze him out, let him sit it out, and let him go play with the reserves. They can do that. While it affects the player's value, but you just do not push your luck, around just like that. How was the day tribe? It was fairly good until Arsenal lost, and then I realized we may have big problems on our hands. I would just slightly over a week left to before the kickoff of the Premier League season. So yeah, but beyond that, everything else is good. Leo Messi, Mr. Leo says no. Ronaldo all the way. Yes, looks like there's more Ronaldo fans here than Messi fans tonight, but it's all good. It's all good, guys. So, anyways, that's the situation with Alexander Isak. At Newcastle, he's been asked to train alone, away from the rest of the team. Now, let's attack the bull of the night. Arsenal versus Villarreal. Where should we start this conversation from? From the positives, from the negatives? Because that fixture left a lot wanting. Where do you come from? Okay, I do not know whose question that is for, but if it is mine, I do come from Kampala, Uganda, small landlocked East African country. There, nestled in the corner of East Africa somewhere. So that's where I do come from. If you're asking about Pedri, he's from Spain. If you're asking about testers of life, he's from South Africa, in a province called Gauteng. So there, I've got Portuguese blood in me, so I support Portugal and Portuguese players. Okay, that's understandable. You're being true to your roots. Very, very understandable. So, guys, Arsenal versus Villarreal. Where do we start it all? From the negatives, from the positives? Because while there were some positives, I mean, things didn't look pretty overall, in my opinion. I know we may have a difference of opinion. First off, things start well, Arsenal concede. Isn't that the norm? That Arsenal start a game well and then they're the ones to concede first? Okay, somebody seems to say, let's start with the positives. Christian Nogard scoring. Basically, he had, I think it was Mikel Merino and who else that were shielding him and driving all the attention away from him, that he ended up being left unmarked at the edge of the 16 years box, and he basically headed that ball home. It looked good, but Nicolas Pepe came back to haunt Arsenal in the 17th minute, and then Ita Enyong Ita Young there did score in the 34th minute to make it 2-0 before Christian Nogadi's 36th-minute header. That was a positive. The other positive that I picked up on the game, Ethan Nwaneri looked good in terms of ball carries, especially in the first half, but his off the ball work in terms of pressing, that was horrible. That was very lucky. You know, it didn't look good enough. It just didn't look good enough. And that's, I think that is one aspect of his game that he ought to work on. And for those that have always advocated for him to start ahead of Martin Odegaard, while their reasons are valid, I think they underlook the contribution that it comes from Martin Odegaard, or that is required for a player playing in Odegaard's position to lead the press or the counter press. You know, so I thought that was a negative for Martinelli. Then the other key positive that I picked up on in as far as the game was concerned was Max Dorman. He came on and he looked sharp. Do you come from Africa? Yes, I do. I do come from Africa. Like I said, small region. Africa is the continent. Region is East Africa. Country is Uganda. Capital is Kampala. I do not know. You may have heard it being called the Pearl of Africa by Sir Winston Churchill. Yeah, that's where I do hail from. That's where I do hail from. In case you have any other questions, maybe another key pointers that I can give you is Mountain Rwenzori is in Uganda, if you've ever heard of it. Largest freshwater body in Africa called Lake Victoria is in Uganda, but also shared with Kenya and Tanzania. We have the source of the longest river in Africa, that's River Nile. So that's here in Uganda. Other mountains, Mountain Elgon, you know, Muhavura and so many others, 165 lakes, both big and small. We have part of the Rift Valley. So that's just to paint for you the kind of picture that's, you know, Uganda, for you to maybe get a few pointers about Uganda. Anyways, back to the game. I was speaking about Max Dorman. Once again, he won the penalty, which Martin Odegaard converted to get Arsenal's second consolation from the game. He looked sharp once again. He was really, really intentional on getting himself in V1V situations to try and take on players, to try and find that fine pass. You know, Victor Gyökeres did start the game. He was making the right runs and moves, but oftentimes he wasn't being found by those that ought to have found him. He did have, you know, a couple of blocked attempts on goal, but overall, I think his overall rating, I would give him a 6 out of 10 in terms of performance. He didn't get enough on the ball to have the impact that we had hoped he would have, but particularly that wasn't, it's not him to blame. It's that those that were supposed to find him were struggling to find him or did not do enough to find him. Again, Gabriel Martinelli didn't look the best of himself, although he looked better than he did against Tottenham. And guys, the situation with Arsenal's left wing, so many people have been led to believe that a change of individuals is certainly going to change Arsenal's fortunes. While that may be true, but if there is no shift in system or tactics, then it's going to be bound to be faced with the same problems. Here's the example that I want to use. Look at how Arsenal utilized the right wing when Bukayo Saka is trying to take on players. Oftentimes you have Ben White close behind him or overlapping to try and get ahead, and then you have oftentimes Martin Odegaard. So they do create that sort of triangle with him, Bukayo Saka, Ben White, and Martin Odegaard. That's how they thrive down that right wing. Now, when you convert things to the left wing, Gabriel Martinelli often doesn't have that. Why? Because the way Arsenal play is that they want their left back inverting into midfield to come and help the sole holding midfielder, because the left 8 is supposed to advance further up at the pitch and help with the counter press and also driving the ball forward. Same applies to Martin Odegaard. So what that means is that solely Gabriel Martinelli or whoever is playing down that left wing is left alone. And remember, every time they going back against to the defensive, when Arsenal are on the defensive, Gabriel Martinelli has to cover lots of yards of space to try and help the left back who has been in midfield, who oftentimes is caught out of position. So you've seen that one too many times especially when teams play that quick switch of the ball, and remember, when the left back inverts in midfield, the right back has moved high up the pitch to help with Bukayo Saka or whoever has played down that path. You do have Arsenal centre backs playing that very high line. And I've already said that leaves Arsenal vulnerable to counter-attacks. You just need to keep your centre forward in between them. Find them with a good pass, and if he's fast enough, he's going to beat those defenders. We saw that today when Arnold Danjuma went forward and scored that third goal for Villarreal. We saw it again. Then Testa says, I love your streams. Thank you so much. Mr. Leo, I do not think it was shambolic, like the title says. After all, it was a friendly relax. Allow me to give you my reasons as to why I think so. With new signings made, Arsenal will take time to get things flowing again. So when you have that centre back, pairing high up front, they are often vulnerable, and that's how we did concede that goal from Arnold Danjuma. So then when it comes to Gabriel Martinelli, when it comes to going forward, it's lagging. Oh, if it's lagging, I'm not experiencing the same on my end. Is there any issue with the stream? If there's any issue, you may try, Pedri, it's Kampala. It's a K, not C. It's and it's a K and a P, not a B. So it's KAMPALA, Kampala. Anyways, okay, understood. So as explained, so on the left wing where you have Gabriel Martinelli, whenever he goes into that run, oftentimes he has to hold on to that ball long enough to wait for the left-sided midfielder / number 8, which is oftentimes Declan Rice, to either do the overlap, which he often doesn't do because he prefers to come inside here as opposed to going for the overlap. Or alternatively, he has to wait for the inverting midfielder to pull a little closer to him to play that ball back to him. And I think that is what is affecting his play. That's what is affecting his overall delivery. Oftentimes he's left isolated and he does not get the quick support to try and tinker things around as the kind of support that Bukayo Saka oftentimes gets on the other end of the pitch. Now, of course, sometimes on 1v1s, the stream is a 1080p. Yes, because I'm using my front camera, and it's a phone camera. So please bear with me on that one. So because 1v1s, his dribbling skills are not the equivalent to that of a Mo Salah. It's not a Lionel Messi. It's not a Lamine Yamal. So oftentimes, when he gets past his first defender, he has another one waiting, and sometimes he's fumbled the ball and things like that, which is okay, So when you look at things in that context, then you will understand why Arsenal's left wing is struggling, and then you will understand why Gabriel Martinelli is struggling. The reason that's why I keep making reference also to the 2022-2023 season, when he was very successful in that role, scored 15 goals and provided 5 assists, giving him a 20 goal involvement, I think in about 36 or 35 appearances overall in the Premier League. For those of you that care to remember, that is a season when we had Takahiro Tomiyasu thriving down that right hand flank. He was playing so well there, and because of the support he was constantly providing him in terms of defensive cover, but also that quickness, the ability for him to run back, he played with a lot of ease. He always counted on Takahiro Tomiyasu to do an overlap, and then you see every time you have your fullback doing the overlap, it takes a bit of attention from one or two defenders, from your winger, who could be a Martinelli or a Saka or Trossard, for them to go ahead and have that kind of impact. So that's how I would explain that in regards to Arsenal's context. I can see Mr. Leo is asking Ronaldo or Lionel Messi. Of course, Testa will choose Ronaldo. Pedro will choose Messi. That's a full conclusion. And I can see you also in support of you're in support of Ronaldo, which is really, really great. Anyways, away from that, away from the Messi Ronaldo comparisons, let's return back to the big debate regarding Arsenal. So for me, those were some of the issues. And again, if you saw when Noni Madueke came on, he tried to have an impact, but still, oftentimes he was left isolated. And I hope he gets to click. Now, in regards, there was a comment from Testa saying Arsenal's new signings need a bit of time to click. That's true, but remember, in the Premier League, you may not get so much time, because the difference of what could destabilize your season, because as you wait for those new signings to gel in, to fit into the system, to click all together, you must be finding a way to grind out results and get that 1-0 win, get that 2-1 win ugly, whichever way you may win, whether it's a set piece score that gets you over the line, as Victor Gyökeres acclimatizes, as Zubimendi further settles in, as Christian Nogard slots himself into this Arsenal system, as Noni Madueke gets himself comfortable. You ought to find a way to win. Otherwise, the league may escape from you right from the onset, early on in the season. Because while you wait for yours to click, some other players will have already clicked with their new teams. So let's bear that in mind, that it can also happen in that manner, or that should be the expectation. Then when it comes to the other player that I thought I picked up on that looked really, really decent was Christian Mosquera. I think if he does continue on that trajectory, he could stand to get more minutes than we do anticipate in an Arsenal shirt. And and then Max Dorman, Kasper donated 666 Swedish pounds. Says hi Kasper. By your profile picture, is that a Bayern Munich badge? So Christian Mosquera looked really, really impressive. When it comes to 3 points, Arsenal always find a way to win games. Yes, we have finished second in the last 3 seasons, but we always have a great season. Well, if you are to compare last season to the earlier 2 seasons, then you say that maybe last season was a downgrade in terms of the Premier League, because if you finish at 74 points, and yet the previous 2 seasons you finished at 85 and 89 respectively, then clearly we can all agree that Arsenal got way too many points last season, which largely came from those too many draws, as many as 14 draws, which almost felt like, I think it almost felt like a team that was battling against relegation when you look at that column of draws, but anyways. So then Max Dorman, I think from the flashes we've seen, I do not know what Mikel Arteta's thought process is, but he could get, a bit of playing time going into next season. He could get some bit of playing time, and let's wait and see what decision they will look to make when it comes to that. So, but if I get the feeling, I have this strong feeling that also Mikel Arteta needs to tweak his tactics a little bit, because we are still failing to play centrally, and by centrally is penetrating opponents through down the middle path, because every time we get the ball, the moment it comes to whoever in midfield, it's poked sideways. Martinelli, Bukayo Saka, Max Dorman, whoever is playing on that side of the flank or the right back, That's what we do. We end up in the wide areas of the pitch. And every time, and I think teams have figured this out. Teams have really, really figured this out. And that's why Villarreal, they defended, defensively, they maintained a 4-4-2 kind of shape. While whenever they were in the offense, it became a back three, so you have teams like Newcastle, teams like Everton, teams like Spurs. I mean the Spurs of Thomas Frank that seem to have figured out that if you're going to play against Arsenal, just play with the low block, fizzle out, close those gaps in the wide areas. They will struggle to penetrate you centrally, and then if you can get your ball on the counter, then you can look to hurt them because their centre backs often play very, very high up the pitch. You do have William Saliba alongside Gabriel Magalhaes or Jakub Kiwior or Christian Mosquera, whoever it may be, are playing beyond the center line. That's how far they come, even beyond the arc in the center arc in the opponent's box. Sometimes, coming past that, which then, according to Mikel Arteta's system, he does expect his goalkeeper to come a bit closer so that if this center back or a player that is being pressed on the other side has a quick channel to play into at least the goalkeeper as they look to rebuild. Now, while that could work out and it does look great sometimes, you also have seen those goals that we've conceded when the goalkeeper gets looped on that goal. We saw that goal against Sporting CP, we saw it against Crystal Palace, we saw it against Tottenham Hotspurs. After today's loss, do you think there can be a win on Saturday? All hope is not lost because, particularly, by the way, I must mention that I was caught a little off guard with the kind of starting 11 that Mikel Arteta fielded. I had hope that he was going to start with his plan A team going into next season. Of course, it's understandable that players like Gabriel Magalhaes, Yura Timber were only returning back from minor injury issues, and for Timber including that surgery, and Gabriel Magalhaes that a bit of a setback to his hamstring injury. I understand that, but when it came to that midfield, I thought he was coming all out with his team A, to try and test things out as we gear up to the Premier League season. But it didn't look that way. It didn't look that way. And I thought they could get at least the first, 45 minutes to test things out, but that's not what he started with. He started with a back four, the best that there was available at his disposal in terms of player fitness. Of course, David Ryan, who, by the way, didn't look great once again today. He's not really looked great so far in preseason. I hope when the season starts, he has his, himself together. I didn't want to use that other word that people usually use in reference to having your things together. But anyways, David Raya did starting goal. You had Ben White at right back. You had Maz Lewis Kelly at left back. Again, Maz Lewis Kelly, I wasn't too impressed in certain situations. William Saliba and Jakub Kiwior, we are talking about the centre back pairing that I finished off last season when Gabriel Magalhaes got that injury in February. Then the midfield, it was Ethan Nwaneri, Christian Nogard, and Mikel Merino that did start. Mikel Merino at the left side of the midfield. So in that midfield particularly, I had hoped that he would start with Martin Zubimendi, Declan Rice, and Martin Odegaard. Of course, eventually they got to play that partnership in the second half, but while it looked promising, it wasn't the best of it. It showed that it is yet to click. It showed that it is yet to click. So that was my hope, but of course I was disappointed in the way that they ended up setting up. Of course, Victor Gyökeres, Bukayo Saka, and Gabriel Martinelli did starts in the front three, in that 4-3-3 kind of system. So when it comes to your comment, Testa, if today's loss, I do not want to read, guys, I'm not reading too much into it because we lost, but particularly because how we played, overall. Rodrigo, the GOAT, you say, what's up? What's up to you too? Good to have you on the broadcast. Jet Horror, hi bro, how are you doing? Where are you joining us from? Jet Hora says hi once again. Pedri, guys, it's just a friendly calm down. Now, Pedri, the reason as to why we're giving it this kind of focus is particularly there's only one friendly game left to play until the start of the season. And of course, while preseason is preparation for the season, it gives you a glimpse in what the manager is thinking. Are they changing tactics? Are they sticking to what they know? Or are players switching positions? Are players being deployed differently? Those are things you get to pick up on preseason. So particularly what we are discussing is what we are picked on in preseason. It's not to say that once the season starts, that's going to be the starting level. So it's going to be different. But because Atesta mentioned that we have new players who are yet to gel together, of course, the expectation is that they will gel together at some point. But again, preseason is what gives you that insight. Of course, Noni Madueke cannot be, a plain batch, even though he missed the post-match penalty, in which by the Arsenal by 4 goals to 3 in the post-match penalties there. So we're not reading too much into the sense of this is what it is going to be when the season starts, but in terms of how the pieces fit together, there must be signs that you look at and say, okay, this is the kind of partnership we are excited about going into the next season, because the teams that you're preparing to play against in the Premier League, they're also equally doing the same thing. So that's why we are digesting this. I remember, so they have only one pre-season friendly left that will come against Atletico Bilbao, another Spanish team. Mikel Arteta was speaking about the kinds of opponents that they chose, and I thought he looked very, very convinced that they chose the right opponents in terms of testing themselves against teams like Newcastle, Tottenham Hotspur, AC Milan, and then Villarreal, as well as Bilbao. So Arsenal lost to Villarreal is crazy. That's Rodrigo the GOAT. Arsenal never winning the Premier League. That's his opinion. Jet Hora says, I'm from Delhi. Good to have you from Delhi, India. Then quickly, after today's loss, do you think there can be a win on Saturday? Maybe that's what I do hope. Hey, Daddy, who is Daddy now? Athletic Bilbao will lose. That's Pedri. What's up? That's from Rodrigo the GOAT. Okay. That's what friendlies are for, so he can easily change the ideas. No need to be mad. I'm not mad, but when you lose, it's just that feeling. Anyways, so but also, by the way, guys, and the reason that's why I say I'm not mad, I'm always happy for Arsenal to lose in preseason. Do you know why? Because oftentimes over winning in preseason gives a sense of false hope, going into a new season. And you get the feeling that maybe your team has clicked and everything is going to, start on fire once the Premier League season starts. And then you start the season and bang, you're being hammered. I seem to remember there's a season. I do not remember the exact season or years. Arsenal performed so well in preseason. Then the opening game was against, I think, West Ham United, who were under the charges of Slaven Bilic, and Arsenal got beat by 2-0. I think it was 2015-2016. It could have been that season when Peter Cech had just joined, around that time, or 16-17, around that period of time, So sometimes I'm happy that we lose, because when you lose, there's a lot to learn for you than when you actually win, because when you lose, you identify those gaps that you need to close, and you identify the issues that you need to fix in the team. So yeah, I'm not mad. Then it's only Yokers that's new and will start regularly, maybe Zubimendi as well. What's the difference between New Delhi and Delhi? That's the same thing. Oh, the difference between New Delhi and Delhi. Oh, you're asking Jet Hall. Well, let him inform us. I'm equally eager to know. I'm not mad, Mr. Tribe. Please look at your title. Oh, the title. Do not read too much into the title. Some titles are clickbaits. Some titles are clickbaits. Really. I do not think you're going to find me on any single day as the most enraged fan, Arsenal fan out there, even when we've lost. Because for me, every time we lose a game, my question is, why did we lose? And how did we lose? Those are my questions that I attempt to answer before all the emotions. Of course, in the immediate aftermath of the game, you're disappointed. You've lost, points dropped, whatever the case, or you've been knocked out of the competition. But when you go back, the deeper sense is, why did we lose? Where were we vulnerable? What did the manager not do right? What did the players not do right? And those kinds of questions that you often put to yourself. I'm sure as a football fanatic, those are some of the questions that you do go back to whenever you look at that, game against Inter Milan at the Giuseppe, in Italy, and I'm sure you do reflect on it and say, maybe if it hadn't been for Jan Sommer, you would have advanced against Inter Milan. Clickbait, please do not scam. Scam, it's bad. Like, I take you as a role model. No, I'm not scamming. By the way, if I really wanted to do headlines that are clickbait, I can do that. Haven't you seen headlines on YouTube where somebody says Manchester United have signed Benjamin Sesko, when even a club-to-club agreement is not yet done, But that's a clickbait, But we'll be honest with you to say they are still working on it. You'll find, for example, go and do a search. You could find headlines of Alexander Isak joins Liverpool. That's a clickbait because we all know it's not true, So, but this headline, in a way, is an awakening reminder for Arsenal fans who think that with the signings they've made, they have it all done and dusted, ready for the next season to challenge for the Premier League title and possibly win it. So it's that bit of a kind reminder that maybe you need to look in the rear mirror and see what's really, really happening on the turf. So, but if you found that a bit odd, for lack of a better word, apologies on that. Rodrigo said hi. Okay. Oh, anyways, guys. All right. Let's move on to from that Arsenal game and their losses. Oh, can we move on from them? There are some positives from Villarreal. By the way, I thought Pepe looked really, really good. Gerard Moreno did look as old as he was. Eta Young looked good as well. Alberto Moreiro, something like that. Dani Parejo. I mean, you look at some of the way, by the way, I like the way La Liga teams play, especially when it comes to, the tic-tac kind of football, the passing, the ease with which they do it. And this oftentimes happens across the entire Spanish La Liga. Even the smallest of teams, you'll find that they are playing that type of football. Of course, once in a while, you'll stumble on a 0-0 draw against Espanyol and maybe a Celta Vigo. That is boring, in terms of the end product, because sometimes they pass it around so much and you're wondering, what's the end product? At the end of a good, a kind of football play, you do expect an attempt on goal. You expect a goalkeeper to be forced in a save and that kind of thing. And then sometimes that element does not come out. But today, I thought Villarreal were quite effective in some of their chances. So beautiful kick out of the game there. Arsenal got to get on Noni Madueke for his debut. Victor Yokeres starting the game. Of course, Christian Mosquera having a kick out there. Max Dorman, Ethan Nanelli starting was a bit of a positive and things like that. Yeah, so on we match to Saturday for the Saturday engagements in the endeavors. Then the UEFA finals. Let's talk about the UEFA finals. 2026. Alberto Moreiro is a big talent, the replacement for Alejandro Baena. He's called Alejandro Baena. I always call him Alex Baena. Signed from Las Palmas for 20 million euros. Very talented player with a very similar playing style to Eden Hazard, 23-year-old. Thank you so much for those facts there that you've enlisted, that you did join them from Las Palmas for that match. And what his capabilities are with the comparison with Eden Hazard. Let's hope he does go on to lead to that hype and expectation. Tribe, watching your stream is the highlight of my day. I always look forward to hearing your opinion. Thank you so much. There, Alex Bainer, real name Alejandro. Okay, yeah. By the way, and I mentioned this in the morning that when I was exploring the options that Arsenal should be looking forward to when it comes to those attacking, midfield options, I looked at Orhan Sunset, Alex Payne, those were some of my immediate options there because I thought they really, really looked impressive. And Eberechi Eze wasn't really even on my shortlist. Are you my daddy? Wow. Anyways. Pass. So the UEFA finals will be played according to these respective dates. The UEFA Europa League final will be played on the 20th of May 2026 at the Besiktas Stadium in Istanbul, Turkey. The UEFA Conference League final will be played on May 27th at the Red Bull Arena in Leipzig. And then the UEFA Champions League final will be played on May the 30th at the Puskás Arena in Budapest, or as my Ugandan people refer to call it, Budapest. So it's all good. It's all good, Pedri. It's all good. It's all good. So when you look at, going back to Budapest, the reason as why Budapest rings a bell, particularly not for footballing terms, but for athletic terms. I do remember our boys, Jacob Kiplimo and Joshua Cheptegei, are competing there, in the World Athletics, I think IAAF or something, one of those, good usual tournaments. Then quickly, guys, Everton did make an approach to Manchester City to try and sign Jack Grealish. It's still early stages. Nothing is done yet. The deal has not yet materialized, but there's an official approach. I've already said this deal, wherever Jack Grealish does end up, unless he's willing to take a significant pay cut, it's going to be a bit of a difficult one because he's on really, really high wages at Manchester City and still has 2 years left to his contract at Manchester City. Then Ipswich Town did reject a bid from Nottingham Forest worth about £35 million to sign Jamaican star that is Omari Hudson, formerly at Arsenal, left Arsenal, joined Chelsea, left Chelsea and joined Ipswich Town. Now, Brentford also retained interest. Brentford had a bid turned down for the same player. So Nottingham Forest are in for him. Nottingham Forest want him as a replacement for Anthony Elanga. Uganda should host the World Cup like South Africa. Are you my daddy? Uganda doesn't have the capacity to host the World Cup. One, purposes of underdevelopment in overall infrastructure when it comes to road network, when it comes to the rail lines, when it comes to airports. So we only have one international airport, that's Entebbe International Airport. There's another being built. It's called the Kabalega International. It's going to be called the Kabalega International Airport. It's being built at that side of Hoima, where they are also building a stadium, very big 20,000 seater stadium in preparation for AFCON 2027, because we are going to be one of the host nations for the Africa Cup of Nations 2027. It's a 20,000 seater stadium. It's going to have an outside training pitch. It will have an outside all indoor games arena. I think that arena is going to be a 15,000 seater capacity. Then it's going to have an Olympic size swimming pool. It's going to have a racing track. So some developments are being made in terms of infrastructure, but in terms of being ready to host the World Cup, we're just not get there. In 2007, we did host Chogal. That's the former British colonies coming together, and hotels had to be built just to accommodate delegates. And I imagine the kind of audience that and numbers that the World Cup would attract, Uganda would need lots of hotel spaces built or Airbnbs and things like that. And then also we would need to expand our infrastructure. Remember, the World Cup itself has been expanded to 48 teams. So that means we would need more than Mandela National Stadium, which is currently the only stadium worthy of hosting international matches, CAF matches, FIFA matches so far. There's another being built. It's also called the Akiboa Stadium. That one is in the northern part of Uganda. I think if we were to host the World Cup, we would need one, perhaps another in West Nile. I would need maybe one in Gulu. I would need one maybe in Western Uganda and another in Central Uganda to be able to achieve that. So while it's a good suggestion to come from you, Pedri, thank you so much for the wishes. We just not yet are prepared to that level. In fact, we are working towards preparing ourselves to host AFCON 2027, and we are going to be co-hosts alongside Kenya and Tanzania. That's why it's called the Promoja 2027, bid. Then you did put another. Tester said Feyenoord just beat Fenerbahce by 2-1. Wow, that's a surprise result. It's one of those games in the UEFA Champions League qualifiers that we did mention as one to look forward to for you guys. Tom Lingo says, "Do girls pee out their butts?" I don't know. I'm not a girl. Tester, okay. Ask Mr. Tribe. I don't know. I'm not a girl. I hope that answers your question. I know you can. Your source of wisdom. That has nothing to do with I do not know. I'm not a girl, so I won't speak for women. If we had a lady on the broadcast, perhaps they would speak for the ladies. But based on the biology I did in school or the science that I did study in school, I do not think that would suffice. But anyways, guys, we are also preparing for the Tusker Renzori marathon. It's coming up next month. I think it's on 5th August? No, sorry, not 5th August. Actually, not next month. It's this month. It should be this month. I need to clarify on the dates. I need to clarify on the date on the Tusker Lights Renzori Marathon. Renzori Marathon. I need to find out the exact dates when it is due. Dates. Yes, it's coming on the 23rd of August, the Tusker Renzori Marathon. Renzori is the highest mountain that we do have in Uganda. I think it has two peaks, one called Margarita. It's a snow-capped mountain. It's a snow-capped mountain. So yeah, I'm dying of laughter now. Mr. Tribe, are you married, kids? No, I'm not. I'm not. Do you see any ring on my fingers? I'm not. So, anyways, so guys, in case you wish to travel to Uganda, that could be one of the reasons that you travel to Uganda this month. 23rd August, we're having the Renzori, the Tusker Light Renzori Marathon. It does take place in the western part of the country, in a place called Kasese District. That's where it takes place. The place also has the Queen Elizabeth National Game Park. You can Google it and find out more information, and also as well as the Renzori Mountains. So you get to see you get to visit places like Kilembe Mines, River Mobutu, River Mobuku, not Mobutu, River Mobuku. You get to visit the Renzori, mountains. You get to visit places like the Kazinga Channel filled with so many hippopotamuses. You get to visit Edward and lectures and things like that. So, in case you're interested in traveling to Uganda, that could be one of the reasons that you do come for the marathon. If I come to Uganda tomorrow, will you host me? I'll be happy to host you in my humble convenience. I'm off now. Enjoy the rest of the evening, tribe, and everyone watching too. I'll be back tomorrow. Thank you so much, Testers of Life, for always being part of our broadcast. Greetings to all your colleagues and fellow football fans down there in South Africa. I love your videos. Thank you so much, Pedri. So back. Let's get back on track. In regards to matters, transfers and things like that. We've spoken about Jack Grealish. That deal, the two parties are negotiating. We've spoken about Nottingham Forest's pursuit of Omar Hudson. Austin Walker says hi, new. Hi, Austin. Where are you joining us from, Austin? Do let me know where you're joining us from, Austin. I subbed. Thank you so much, Austin, for supporting. Thank you so much. We do appreciate that sub. If we do monetize the channel eventually, God willing, it will take a bit of time, but I will have some membership, fees introduced, so that you can help, grow this community. You're the hallmarks of this community. Austin Walker says he's from the United Kingdom. What part of the United Kingdom do you come from? London, Stoke City, Southampton, Liverpool, up Newcastle, Manchester, Birmingham, Coventry. Wow. I do not know much about Coventry besides the team Coventry City. But yeah, it's good to have you. What's up, mate? Nice to meet you. Good to meet you. Coventry, that's up north. Okay. I'm not so familiar with the geographies of UK cities, but it's good to know. Where are you from? I'm from a former British colony called Uganda. English is our official language. So yeah, it's called Uganda, also dubbed the Pearl of Africa, somewhere in the eastern part of the African continent. So it's good to have you here with us as part of the community. So is there anything we've left out in regards to today's light as well? Thank you so much. Mr. Tribe, you learn English in school? Yes, it's our official language. It's our official language. So as soon as you enter school, that's the language in which you study, actually. It's the language in which you study. Of course, maybe in simplifying explanations, teachers or tutors may switch to a bit of local languages here and there, but English remains the official language. King Lotto says it's looking, my brother. Thanks so much, King Lotto, for joining us. King Lotto is another Arsenal fan. How much would you sell a lemonade for in Uganda? It shouldn't cost you more than 2,000 shillings. That's what, about 0.5 cents or $0.5, if that's how it's put. This team will maybe finish top 6. King Lotto is so disappointed with Arsenal's performance today, and is thinking they may finish in the top 6 and not even win the title. Anyways, let's wait and see. Let's quickly go to the latest from the world of transfer gossip and speculation. It's about 14 minutes past the hour of midnight, so I want to sign out soon. Your currency is being shilling. Yes, it's the shilling. It's called the Ugandan shilling. So $1 is equivalent to about 3,500 to 3,650 shillings, depending on the fluctuation rate of the dollar. But usually that's the range. $1 is the equivalent of about 3,500 or 3,650 Ugandan shillings. I want to go to Uganda tomorrow, to Kampala. You're welcome anytime. Ateta out. I do not think we are at that stage already, although I've seen in multiple forums conversations being had that if Arsenal are not within the top two by December, then it should be Arteta out. But I do not think we'll reach that stage yet. However, I've always maintained that if he doesn't win any major trophy this season, he's going to, unfortunately, lose the trust of the fans. Not all of them, but he will lose the trust of so many fans. And that's not a good feeling, really. To have, it's not a good environment to be around in the club. So Mr. Tribe doesn't like him. Who do I not like? Arteta? No, I have no problem with him. He wants him to leave now. You know, there's a saying in our local language that, and I'll loosely translate into English, that you're tying ears of a goat on me so that I can be eaten by the lion. So basically, you're setting me up to be eaten by King Lotto. So you're tying ears of a goat on me so that I can be eaten by the lion in this case. So King Lotto, do you think this team is capable of winning a trophy? I guess we will never know until it does win one, actually, right? Because after all, at the end of the day, the rest is all speculation and prediction, which is a 50-50 odd. So until they win one, we'll never know. Bread or milk, Mr. Tribe? I'll choose bread. Although for dietary reasons, I'm off bread. I'll only eat it once in a while. Kids, I have no problem with kids. Cheese, cheese on pizza, maybe on pizza. I don't think I've eaten cheese in anything else. So lavender tea, wow. Pedro, what are you feeding on? Are you a foodie? You seem to know so much about cuisine. Anyways, guys, let's look at the latest from the transfer speculation and gossip as compiled by BBC Sport. Manchester United have contacted Brighton through intermediaries to explore a potential move for Cameroon midfielder Carlos Baleba, 21. That's according to the Athletic. Everton, we've spoken about their pursuit for Jack Grealish. Then Swedish striker Alexander Isak being told to train alone at Newcastle. We discussed that. Newcastle have a bid of about 30 million euros, in brackets 26.2 million pounds for German defender Malik Thiaw, but AC Milan have not accepted the offer as they want to keep the 23-year-old. That's according to Gazette dello Sport. It's been widely reported. Nottingham Forest are closing in on a deal to sign 27-year-old Brazil midfielder Douglas Luiz from Juventus, which could make a move for Forest and Ivory Coast midfielder Ibrahim Sangare at 27. That's according to Gazette dello Sport. King Lotto says they are looking confused out there. Our best player is a 15-year-old. It's concerning. Indeed, it is concerning when you have a 15-year-old as your best player every time you complete a game. Then also, Everton are interested in Douglas Luiz as well, just like Forest. That's according to the Mail. RB Leipzig are discussing contract terms with Liverpool and England under-21 midfielder Harvey Elliott, 22, before they can make a formal transfer offer. That's according to Fabrizio Romano. I think, guys, won't Bayer Leverkusen end up spending all the money they got paid for Randwitz back, giving it back to Liverpool? I mean, they already signed Joel Quensha for 35 million pounds, of course, 30 being the guaranteed fees. Now, if they go in for Harvey Elliott, let's assume it doesn't cost anything less than 25 million pounds. What do you think about FPL? I told you I'll be giving you my feedback about the FPL thing. I know. Thank you for constantly reminding me, by the way. I do appreciate it and take it in very good faith. Payson, hi Payson. Good to have you back, Payson. I think Payson is from the USA. Where are you from, Payson? Control. It's not control, Pedri. It's actually Cotrell. I hope I'm pronouncing it well. Robert Lewan Goleski. You're talking about Robert Lewandowski. Anyways, Inter Milan could consider a move for Manchester United and England winger Jadon Sancho, 25, if they fail to sign Nigerian forward Ademola Lookman from Atlanta. That's according to Gazette dello Sport. Manchester City's Mateo Kovacic, 31, has been approached by Saudi Pro League clubs this summer, but the Croatian midfielder wants to stay at Manchester City. That's according to Fabrizio Romano. So that's the latest from the world of transfer gossip and speculation. Person is from the USA. I just do not remember what state that she told us, but she's from the USA. Anyways, Pedro is asking, are you from Canada? No, she's not from Canada, at least based on what she's told us. She's from the USA. By the way, we have a couple of followers from the USA. I seem to forget the gentleman's name. The gentleman from I think, yes, it's Snow. It's Snow LFC. I think it's Snow LFC. Who joins us from Oklahoma. No, and it is Payson Cottrell. Cottrell. Yes, I hope I pronounce it well. But if I do mispronounce it, I accept my sincere apologies in advance. Anyways, guys, it's been 1 hour and 11 minutes of doing this. Allow me give you my special shout outs before we sign out of here. So the Monkey Do and Exeni Penny Show. Thank you so much for being part of today's podcast. Pedri, always a pleasure to have you around. Testers of Life has already left, but thank you so much. Mr. Leo, always a pleasure to see you around. King Lotto, always great to see you around. Jet Hora from Delhi, India, it was a pleasure to have you around. Rodrigo the Goat, it was good to see you around. Then Tom, it was good to see you around. Austin Walker from the United Kingdom, from Coventry City, it was a pleasure to have you around. Then, as well as Payson, King Lotto, we do not take your time for granted as well. So thank you so much, guys, for being part of tonight's podcast. Thank you so much for keeping us good company. Thank you so much for engaging, and every single contribution that you had for the podcast. Person, Pedro is just messing with you. He can clearly see the correct spelling of your name. So let him not give you so much headache. He's just, teasing you a bit. But thank you so much, guys. Let's look to do this again tomorrow morning. But do not hesitate to check out our section. We should be looking to get some, content out there and the different, sections on the channel. Read my message, Mr. Tribe. Just change your name and put only one and one only. I do not think she needs to change her name. It's fine the way it is. Maybe the sort of the font in which it is written, it's a bit calligraphy like. Maybe it's what gives people a bit of trouble to read, but the name is fine. So otherwise, be blessed and have a wonderful rest of the night. Bye bye for now.